195 max weight.
Okay.
10 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
And 12-ounce clubs. And most of you guys know boxing, right? Most of the fights are with 10-ounce clubs. Fighters spar in 16-ounce clubs. 12-ounce and 10-ounce gives you a little bit more safety, which is the key here, given the size difference, but there's a massive experience difference. We will have 3 world-class judges ringside that the commission has approved to ensure there's a rendered decision for the fans. It will not go on their record, but there will be 3 experienced judges, some of the best in the business, giving their view of who won the fight.
So let me just follow up with this then. You know, the Florida statute says that it means an exhibition means a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts.
You saw the exhibition of Floyd and Logan. Okay. So just go with that, and if they weren't trying to hit each other, then tell me they weren't trying to hit each other.
Gervonta Tank Davis is training harder than ever before, pushing his body and mind to the edge in preparation for the most talked about fight of his career, the showdown with Jake Paul. Inside his camp, there's no room for weakness. Every session is brutal, non-stop sparring rounds, blistering pad drills, punishing conditioning circuits, and endless repetitions that demand total focus. Sweat pours as his coaches shout combinations, the sound of gloves cracking fills the air. Tank's intensity is unmatched. He's not training just to win, he's training to make a statement. Surrounded by elite trainers and teammates, his energy radiates raw determination. His aggression, precision, and relentless pace show that this isn't about hype or fame, it's about proving that real boxing power and experience will always crush celebrity bravado. Boxing commentator Showbiz the Adult believes Jake Paul may have made the biggest mistake of his career. Jake's walking into a storm, he argues. Gervonta Davis isn't a retired name from the past or a celebrity looking for clout, he's a dangerous, active fighter at the height of his abilities. Showbiz reminds fans that Tank has already dismantled bigger, taller opponents Ryan Garcia, Mario Barrios, men who underestimated his power and paid for it. He emphasizes that Jake may think he's found a formula by fighting aging names like Nate Diaz or by teasing fights with legends like Mike Tyson, but this time, the story is completely different. Tank isn't fighting for fame, he's fighting to defend boxing's soul. With lightning-fast hands, surgical precision, and knockout intent, Davis represents the old-school art of combat. Jake's about to learn, Showbiz says, that this isn't YouTube boxing anymore. This is the deep end, where the sharks swim.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite. And so that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, which he was critical isn't much. The Lamont Roach fight, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry-picked. I think Tank thought, I'll just fight another guy from, the Mid-Atlantic area who's, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him, and Tank thought he was just going to cruise, and then it blew up in his face, and you're left with that. So you're making a point about he's got this obligation. That's true, but he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge. And, kind of teetering on the edge a little bit about whether or not this is a thing he wants to do. Then he, does a draw in that fight.
Yet not everyone sees Davis as the guaranteed victor. Some analysts argue that Tank may be taking on a risk too great this time. They point to Jake Paul's natural size, power, and frame as factors that could pose serious problems. While Tank's speed and technique dominate his usual divisions, facing a heavier opponent means stepping into unfamiliar territory. Experts remind us that weight classes exist for a reason, to protect fighters and balance skill against physical force. And when lines blur, danger rises. Even with Tank's elite reflexes and lethal timing, Jake's raw strength could test his endurance like never before. For Davis, this isn't just a test of skill, it's a test of limits. The question remains, can technique overcome mass, or has Tank finally met an obstacle too heavy to break?
Left hand down the pipe. You can even see here, I'm not even trying to do the whole body language breakdown, but you can even see Tank could get under that left hand because he's 5-0. He could roll under that left hand, and here comes the brick hand over the top. If he lands something like that in 10 ounces, I'm going to tell you this. Jake's 200 and something pounds. That's still going to hurt at the very least, and who knows what, because Tank's got ridiculous power. So Jake, a little sloppy on the push there. He got pushed. He wanted to get it back. There's something to be taken away from that, but lines up perfectly for a counter left hand. And you even see his promoter here is kind of grabbing his left hand because Tank wanted to let it fly. And Jake backed up a little bit. He said, oh, and Tank comes from that. Tank, man. Tank said, where I'm from, the bullies get bullied. All right, dude, there you go. Listen, takeaways from this thing, I don't know. Tank seemed to have a little bit more energy today. He seemed to be more lively. Him going back and forth with the media, with Jay Leon, with Jake, with Aiden Ross. There seemed to be a bit more energy today. That's all I really asked for. So in terms of, selling us on something, sure. Better job today from both guys. Jake, seemed a bit more locked in here with Tank as well. They had a little bit more fun. Tank going after Kiso was pretty funny. But listen, this doesn't change anything in my mind. The 10-ounce gloves doesn't really change anything to me. I mean, again, I think that's a bad idea for Tank, more so because even if Jake doesn't land clean, those are 10-ounce gloves, still going to hurt. Tank is still punching in gloves that are 2 ounces heavier than he normally uses, so I don't know how that's a win for him. The $2 million bet almost certainly won't happen, which I didn't think would in the first place, but Tank pretty much confirmed it. And we're all left with the same kind of idea that we thought about this to begin with. This is an entertainment exhibition that we know is going to draw a ton of eyeballs. I'm going to watch, and there's going to be great high-level competition boxing on the underneath card. And even in the main event, if something is to happen, if someone is to get knocked out, it will go mega viral, and both these guys are going to make a shit.
At the recent press conference, all eyes were on Gervonta Davis. The atmosphere buzzed with tension, but Tank stood calm, composed, collected, and deadly focused. In contrast, Jake Paul, ever the showman, thrived on noise and provocation, throwing verbal jabs to draw reactions. But Tank didn't flinch. His silence spoke louder than words. Every movement, from his posture to his gaze, reflected discipline and confidence earned through years of championship fights. For Davis, this isn't about lights, cameras, or hashtags. It's about legacy. His quiet demeanor reminded everyone that true champions don't seek chaos, they master it. Every sentence he spoke carried conviction. I don't play boxing. While Jake entertained, Tank exuded professionalism, proof that for him, this isn't performance art. It's war, built on preparation and belief.
Paul will face Gervonta Davis in an exhibition match. Quote, you can't do a fight like that as a pro fight, Shipman said. It'll be an exhibition fight, end quote. Similarly to the concerning location move, he states that the main reason for this is the significant weight disparity between the two opponents. An exhibition is defined by Florida statutes as a boxing, kickboxing, or mixed martial arts engagement in which persons participating show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win, using strikes, elbows, blah, blah, blah. So, the key word here is, key phrase, show or display their skills without necessarily striving to win.
Respected boxing analyst Teddy Atlas compared Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis to the famous exhibition between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, but with one critical difference. This time, there's no exhibition. Jake's got the size, Atlas admits, but Tank's got what you can't teach, experience. He explains that Davis has been molded through years of battles, developing instincts and calmness that no training camp can replicate. Unlike Logan's cautious approach against Floyd, Jake will be facing a fighter who punishes mistakes ruthlessly. Davis doesn't wait, Atlas adds. He hunts. He predicts that Tank's ring IQ and timing will dismantle Jake's physical advantages piece by piece, exposing the difference between a true master and a student still learning the craft.
So that's boxing at its finest right there. You heard it. They said it. Make that bad. Everything on the line.
Gervonta is an animal for real. Jake is too domestic. Here's the thing, Mike Tyson's an animal too. He was just 60, but he messed around and he got a prime.
Analyst Luke Thomas offered a deeper look into Davis's mindset heading into the fight. He noted a shift, a quieter, more introspective Tank. Not nervous, but aware. He's carrying the weight of more than just a fight, Thomas said. He's representing real boxing. Tank's calm demeanor signals maturity, a sign that he knows this bout isn't about money or fame, it's about defending the integrity of his sport against the wave of celebrity fighters who treat the ring like a stage. Thomas emphasized that this psychological side of Tank could be both his greatest weapon and his toughest challenge. If channeled correctly, it sharpens his precision and focus, if not, it could slow his rhythm under pressure. We're watching evolution in real time, he concluded. This isn't just about power anymore. It's about purpose. The tension between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis has become symbolic, a clash between two worlds colliding. On one side, Jake, the bold showman, a social media titan who turned fame into fists. On the other, Gervonta, the embodiment of pure boxing craft, honed through years of hard-earned victories. Their fiery face-off captured more than ego, it captured the conflict defining modern boxing itself. Fans are asking, can strength and spectacle defeat skill and science? Jake represents the entertainment era, driven by hype, marketing, and bravado. Tank stands for tradition, discipline, mastery, and respect for the sport's roots. This isn't just a fight, it's a referendum on boxing's identity. As anticipation builds, it's no longer just about who wins, it's about what their victory will mean.
In the press conference, and you can tell, you can just look at him and tell, like, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, Mike Tyson, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all. However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, when you see a car crash. Like, you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I gotta say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn. This turn of these exhibition fights and people not caring about the belts and all of that stuff came with Floyd Mayweather.
Promoter Nakisa Bidarian added fuel to the conversation by confirming a key detail: both fighters will wear 10-ounce gloves. That announcement instantly sent shockwaves through the boxing community. Typically, heavier fighters use larger gloves to absorb impact. 10-ounce gloves mean less padding, more speed, more danger, and higher risk. The decision evens the playing field, reducing Jake's size advantage and allowing Tank's precision to shine. But it also raises the stakes. Every clean shot could change the fight in an instant. Bidarian's reveal proved how carefully this matchup has been crafted, balancing spectacle with fairness. For fans, it means one thing: expect fireworks.
Want this, or I like this when I heard it? No, I didn't like it, to be honest. for the optics and everything else I just said. But you do have one guy who, yeah, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter. He can punch, and he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin? What if he hits him on the chin? It'll wind up selling. And that's what'll wind up selling it. The what if. What if Tank makes him do a cha-cha? He hits him on the chin. And Jake Paul, we're going to find out if he can dance. Whoa, 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 whoa. You know, do the cha-cha. That's what's going to sell it. And you can't argue that what if. You can't. I know I get to places that other people won't go and everything else, that just dismiss stuff because it's easier to do that, it's safer to do that. You don't have the bows and arrows coming at you from people that argue with you because you did that, but I don't care. I've had bows and arrows my whole life, I don't care. But that's true. That what if? What if this guy who is a real good puncher, who is one of the best fighters in the world right now, what if he hits him? What if he makes a miss and he counters him? Or he jumps up in the air? Right! And he hits him. Sid Terrace was a great fighter. No, not the 1700s, but years ago. And Cus D'Amato told me he loved Sid Terrace. He said, Teddy, he used to jump up in the air and hit you with 3 jabs. I said, whoa, man, Sid Terrace. All right. Anyway, look, I can't finish without saying that it did invoke some memories and thoughts that we've been here before in a different way, where Jake Paul's brother fought Mayweather. That's not forget. And I'm not saying I like that either.
As hype for the fight grows, another familiar name has re-entered the picture: Floyd Mayweather. The undefeated legend, known for always staying close to the spotlight, once again finds himself part of the conversation. Whether intentionally or not, Mayweather's presence reminds the world of his deep connection to Gervonta and his mastery of boxing's psychological game. But while the talk swirls and debates rage, some favoring Jake's strength, others backing Tank's technique, Gervonta remains locked in. No distractions. No drama. Just relentless work. Behind closed doors, he's sharpening his weapons, preparing to let his fists do the talking. Because when the bell rings, all the noise fades, and only truth remains. Tank isn't here to argue. He's here to prove. And that's where things stand: tension high, anticipation electric. The stage is set for one of the most unique collisions boxing has ever seen. Will fame conquer skill, or will legacy crush hype once and for all? Stay tuned, because when Tank Davis and Jake Paul step into that ring, the entire world will be watching.